Well, good evening, everyone. I know you're taking your time to join us on a beautiful summer evening, and I'm sure all of you have lots of things you'd like to be doing, like enjoying the nice weather. So we'll get kicked off right away. First, I'd like to do some introductions, and Russ and Denise, I did mute you earlier, so you have to unmute yourselves to do some intros. So I'm going to turn it over to Russ to just welcome everyone and get us kicked off.
Okay, Amy, thank you so much. Russell Frankel here, previous leader of this particular program, the Aspirations in Computing program in Minnesota. And you're going to see on the screen Born Vang, and Born is the current leader. He's waving at you. And so I'm serving in a quasi kind of volunteer capacity. And on behalf of the Minnesota State IT Center of Excellence and the Minnesota Aspirations in Computing Awards program, I welcome you. And I think this is the perfect place to hang out on a beautiful summer day. So welcome. I just want to send a message to both of our parties here today. The first is to our mentors who come from a variety of different places in Minnesota and perhaps beyond, who have agreed to be a mentor and to engage with our youth in the space to learn about careers in technology. And we just want to thank our mentors for your interest in doing so and for your love of these young people. So thank you so much. And to our students, I just want to say, way to go. You signed up to be a mentor, to be a mentee. I'm not sure if you've done this before, but it's a great thing to do. And I just want you to know how important it is to make the commitment that you're making to spend time with a professional and to learn more about what it's like to be a professional in the technology world. So congratulations to you for making that commitment. And with that, I think my job is to now hand it off to Denise.
Thanks, Russ. Thanks, Amy. I was just thinking, one of the best things to come out of COVID was this MentorMash program that you are all participating in. This was our pivot to allow for engagement between you aspiring technology professionals to be and these amazing, accomplished and distinguished women professionals who are operating at all levels in technology. So to Russ's point, congratulations to both parties, mentors and mentees, for getting involved in this program. The 3 to 4 hours that you invest in this relationship building process are going to be so impactful. It is just a fantastic program, and I'm really excited for each and every one of you and the experience that you're about to have. I'm Denise Morlock. I am a client engagement director with Turnberry Solutions, and I guess a 12-year volunteer now working with Aspirations in Computing. I've had the privilege of working with Russ, Amy, Shelley, who all three who are here, and more recently with Born Vang, who are all very committed to this mission of providing opportunities, a network, support, and a connection for you young aspiring technology professionals to get connected to all of these amazing resources and people who are welcoming you into this community and who are eager to see you in this community. So thank you for investing your time tonight and your time over the summer, all of you. And I will hand it back to Amy to kick off her introduction in the meeting. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Russell and Denise. And I'd like to reiterate again, thank all of you for being here and being part of this program. I'm Amy Patton, Vice President of Technology at SPS, and And I just love aspirations in computing and the way that we are connecting students to a bright future. And so thank you for giving me the privilege to be here tonight talking to you. And I just want to let you know what a privilege it is as students to be connected in a mentorship program like this. I never envisioned something like this when I was in high school. And so I'm so glad that we are able to do this. And I hope that you look at this as really an opportunity for you to network and to grow and to really start to build your future. So with that, let's kick off into our agenda. So we have, hopefully it will not take the whole hour. I'm hoping to have plenty of time for questions later if you still have some questions after our presentation. But we want to go through the program highlights, talk about the expectations from a mentor perspective and from a mentee perspective, go over some goals and topics and discussion points. We really want to give you some ideas for what can you do in this mentorship opportunity if you don't already have some really good ideas. And then we had some feedback last year is like, it'd be great to understand what are some icebreaker ideas. Either they're, how do we just start that first meeting, which can be very awkward, or what kinds of questions should we get going with, and then some Q&A. So the highlights, as you've seen in the emails, June 19th through August 18th of this year is really the time frame for MentorMash. I know some of you are going to get started already this week, which is great. If you want to do that, absolutely you can. And between the mentor and the mentee, if you want to get started a little early, go for it. And if you find as you go through your 3 to 4 virtual meetings that are 45 minutes to an hour, if you find out that you want to keep talking to each other beyond this, that's absolutely up to you. So do what makes sense for you in your mentoring relationship. We have 33 participants this year, which has been just so exciting. I know Denise and I love going through the survey details and finding out what does the student want to do and then matching them up with the mentors. It's really an honor to be able to do that and to put such a great mentoring program together. The emails have been sent out. You're here because you've gotten them and you're ready to get kicked off. And again, this is just an opportunity that we hope you find great joy and useful information from now and in the future. You've seen the MentorMash agreement a few times. I sent it again in the reminder last night. You will be getting a survey a day or two after this meeting along with this PowerPoint. So you don't necessarily need to take notes unless you really are a note taker and want to. And the recording for those who can't make it. But we want you to really take this seriously. There's time invested on multiple parties. So make sure you go through those responsibilities and just say, yep, I agree to this and looking forward to it. So what are our expectations? From a mentor perspective, we are expecting the mentor to help guide the relationship. Sometimes this is the very first mentoring relationship for a student. Like I said, I didn't envision this when I was a high school student. I wouldn't have known where to start. So be that person who can schedule the meetings, get the virtual conferencing going for the student. Be asking your mentee, what are the goals for this engagement? You got some ideas when we did the introduction about what the student is looking for. So read through those, but make sure you're asking along the way and really be prepared to guide that conversation because sometimes it can be really awkward. I don't know what to ask. And really looking for the mentee or the mentor to be guiding that conversation. Be vulnerable. Be open to talk about your own failures and your fears, as well as your accomplishments, because we all know that we're complex individuals and work is hard and life is hard. And so we've all had opportunities to fail. And sometimes it's in our failures that we learn the most and we can actually teach the most to someone else. So be vulnerable. Give a homework as appropriate, but remember, this is summer for everyone. So keep it short, keep it meaningful, keep it useful to the conversation that you're doing. Maybe you watch a TED Talk, maybe you read a blog, maybe you read a technology white paper or something, whatever seems to be going well for you. So articles, maybe not a full book unless you're both really invested in a full book, but have some research topics for that next meeting. And always be positive, be professional, fun, and encouraging. Your goal here is to really prepare the student for wanting to have multiple mentoring relationships throughout your career and throughout your life. What really makes a good mentor? We're hoping that you have a desire to develop others through feedback and guidance. That, it's really important that you understand that that's why you're here. Focus on strengths. We all have failures. We talked about that in the last slide. We all do things wrong, but we want to focus on what our strengths are. And then spot those times when your mentee might be getting interference. What is keeping that person? Either it's internal fears or it might be external, what people are saying, but what is in the way of making progress, and how can you reduce that interference? Reflection is really important for ensuring that people learn. So what happened if there was an incident or a time that the student is working through that was really impactful? What happened during that experience? How did that make the student feel? What would that person do differently in the next time? In my world, we have things that are called retrospectives. If there's an incident in production, we will have a retrospective where we get together and we talk about what went well and what didn't go well. And so that's really a time for that reflection also. Be a coach versus a problem solver. Your job is not to give all the answers, but to guide your student to how they can get to an answer. It's like teaching how to fish versus giving the fish. And then finally, encouraging learnings and helping the student to find their own solutions. Again, it's like, be that coach and not the problem solver. Ask the why questions and the how questions. So what are some examples of some insightful questions that you might ask your student? There's some here. What are you trying to accomplish? What can I do? What can help you with this? What might be getting in your way? What do you think you may be avoiding? So look through this and think about, how do you ask questions back to your student that can help them to think deeper about the problems. Okay, mentees or students, I really want you to open your mind to this summer and this mentoring opportunity, and to really be excited about it. Be ready to talk about yourself, your strengths, your weaknesses. And this can be hard. You don't know this person, right? We'll talk a little bit later about how do you get to know and how do you trust? How do you build that trust so you can have that relationship? But really be ready to have those conversations. Be on time. This is really important. Your mentor is taking the time to be there for you, so be courteous. Get yourself ready 10 to 15 minutes before the meeting. Get a nice quiet spot for you to be in if it's possible. I know that can be really hard sometimes. Sometimes the window's open and the neighbor is mowing the lawn and it's loud, but just be ready to have that conversation. Find a quiet space, like I said, where you won't be interrupted. And then reach out to your mentor if you need to reschedule. Things happen, right? It's life. And sometimes you can't make the meeting that you scheduled 2 weeks in advance, but make sure that you tell your mentor, don't just not show up. That's not good for anyone, because it makes you wonder whether you're really invested. And then take notes during your meeting. Track the actions that you might have for the next meeting. What are you learning along the way? What do you want to remember for the future? So make sure you're taking those notes. And then finally, if you had homework that from a meeting, do your homework. Before your first meeting, if you haven't already, go to your mentor's LinkedIn. Understand what they have done in their career and what their background is if they have a LinkedIn. Or read the bio that they sent you, or their 3 kind of icebreakers. I could talk forever about items, and just get to know them. And think about questions that you can ask and your goals for this summer, and follow through on action items from each meeting. So let's talk a little bit about preparing yourself for that first meeting. We'll have some examples in a little bit, but I want you to write down 1 or 2 very clear goals that you have for this mentoring experience. It's important that you write it down. I know for me, I can think things, and then the next day I'm like, what was I thinking? So if you write it down, you're going to remember it, and it's going to make it a little bit clearer whether that's something that you want to do, or do you need to refine it a little bit. If you don't remember, refer back to what you put down in the survey when we connected you. We put that information right into, provided it to the mentor. So go and look at that email. And then prepare, and again, write down some questions that you want to ask your mentor to achieve those goals that you've listed. You know, think about open-ended questions, not yes and no, but open-ended questions that can get a conversation going. And finally, I just want to again encourage you, be ready to talk and participate. This isn't you just sitting and listening to your mentor talk for 45 minutes to an hour. It's really a conversation. So in case you don't already have a preformed set of goals and ideas, we want to give you some ideas of what you might want to talk about. And again, these aren't things that you necessarily have to take verbatim. They're ideas. But let's give you a few. First, let's say your goal was, I want to understand career possibilities and background needed. What might your questions for that be? Again, we're not going for yes or no questions. We want open-ended questions. You might be starting with, what has been your career journey? And how did your education prepare you for it? What did you wish you'd studied that you didn't? What did people help you in unexpected ways? Another idea, if your goal is, I want to conquer my fear of failure, how might you address that with some questions? Here's a few. I could say, tell me about a time that you failed at work, because we've all failed, and what did you learn from it? How did you deal with fear? Are there articles you've read that helped you deal with fear of failure at work? Could we read some together? Okay, third idea. If your goal is, I want to understand alternative methods for gaining computer skills beyond high school, what might you ask? How have you learned in the past without going to a structured class? Would you be open to helping me research alternative learning methods? That's a yes or no question, Amy. Maybe it turns into, how about we research some alternative learning methods? Okay, one more idea. If your goal is, I want to learn about artificial intelligence in business and technology, some questions you might ask are, how is your company currently using or exploring the use of AI? What concerns do you or your company have about AI? How do you see AI changing the job you or your colleagues do in the next few years? Are you open to exploring using ChatGPT with me? Okay, so just some ideas for how to get your goal and your questions formed. So that first meeting, mentors and mentees, can be a little bit uncomfortable because you don't know each other. You've shared some emails, but now how do you get how do you get started? Well, you want to get to know each other. It can be very difficult to have a mentoring relationship unless you have some level of trust. And to do that, you kind of need to get to know each other just a little bit. So spend that first meeting getting to know each other. And here are some good questions to be asking if you need some ideas. What are your hobbies? What did you do last weekend? What's your favorite animal and why? What would be your dream job? What are you most proud of? And then you already started it with your I could talk forever about 3 ideas. So why'd you choose those? So some more ideas for mentees, because it can be hard on that first meeting again to ask some questions, but really it's a good time to get the mentor talking about themselves a little bit. When you were my age, did you think you'd find yourself in this industry and role? If not, how'd you get in here? What's your career journey been? What'd you learn along the way? What advice might you have for me? What is one thing you wish you could tell your younger self? And did you ever have a mentor? If so, how did they help you out? If not, why didn't you seek one? Okay, so lots and lots of ideas. And hopefully that gives you a good start to your first meeting or so. Now, after your meetings, it's really important not to just say, okay, bye, well, thank you, right? We want to be prepared for what's that next meeting. So mentors, if you could kind of recap what was discussed, that would help along the way with the students to remember what you went over, and to maybe talk about what worked and what didn't. Offer up some ideas for the next topics based on what you talked about that could be interesting or useful. Ask the mentee what they would like to talk about at the next meeting. Set the agenda, and to maybe send an email to you as a mentor at least one day before the meeting so you can be prepared. And then make sure that you have that next meeting date set and that you both know what it is at the time. And then student or mentee, provide some feedback. How did it go? Was it useful for you? Would you like something a little bit different? Is there something that you want to talk about? Bring that up now. And then confirm the date that you're meeting next. So hopefully that's a helpful way to end your meeting. We hope that you can help us to improve MentorMash. At the end of all of this, we will ask for your feedback. We'll do a survey. And we take that very seriously. I know the group, Denise and Shelly Andrew and Russell and I and Bourne have all gone through feedback, and that's helped to build this deck. It's helped us to know we need to give you some ideas on how to get this kicked off and what does it mean from a mentoring perspective. So we absolutely take your feedback very seriously. So if along the way you have any questions, feel free to reach out to Russ, Denise, or myself, and we'll get back to you. If for some reason you haven't connected with your mentor or your mentee yet, please let us know. So give us feedback along the way, and then at the end of your sessions, we'll send out a survey. So please do fill that out. So finally, we want to give some time for some questions. So I'm going to stop sharing and we'll open it up to Q&A. I've muted, I think most everyone is muted. So there's two ways that you can ask a question. You can put it into the Zoom chat, or feel free to unmute yourself and just ask the question. Now is the awkward silence while everyone thinks of what do they want to ask. Anyone?
Amy, how many matches do we have this summer?
Oh, Megan, we have 33 matches this summer.
I'd like to just make a comment, and I'll be a little more direct than Amy was. She was pleading with you or encouraging you to provide us with feedback at the end. And I'll just say it's a requirement of both of our mentees and our mentors. We don't ask a lot, especially of our mentees. You're receiving all the support. And so we just definitely ask that you are serious about giving us feedback. So mentors, same situation. We do ask more of you, but we also appreciate the fact that you take just a minute. They're really brief surveys just to give us the feedback that we need. Thank you.
Thank you, Russell. Good point. Okay, so there is a question in chat. And Denise, I'll let you answer it. I'll ask it. The question is, if the mentor and mentee are willing to meet in person, is this okay?
Thank you for the question, Erica. It's a great question. And I alluded to the fact that this program kind of came out of COVID, trying to find a way for engagement when we were all isolating at home. With this program, we have authorization to do this over a virtual relationship. And so if there is a meeting that, an in-person meeting that anyone is wanting to take place, it has to be approved by a parent. And so we don't have that set up within the current framework authorizing this program to take place. So it's probably easiest to say that it's best to just conduct your meetings over the virtual engagement. Russ, is there anything that you would add to that?
I love your response, Denise. I think it is. I mean, there's liabilities associated, unfortunately, with all of these connections. In most cases, we're dealing with minors. That's why we want to make sure parents are involved in this and parents are aware of what's happening with the program. I think it's best to stay, make sure this stays a virtual program. What you do past the program, I'll just say this, and you're on your own time, is certainly up. It's a choice that you can make, but it's really something that, as Denise said, really needs to be understood, fully understood, and approved by the parent, right? So I just sort of leave it at that. We know that you're going to meet here for roughly 2 months' time, and my sense is it's going to be easier for the connection to occur virtually. For those of you that are also in our job shadow program, we do have an ability for people to kind of go out and meet and participate with professionals in a work setting, right? So it's a structured place where people can connect. And so people know that going into it, just like you know going into this, kind of what the expectations are of the program. So thank you.
Great. Next question from Allison is, could the mentor and mentee meet more than 4 times over Zoom if it was approved? And I'd say if you agree that both of you want to meet more often, go for it. This is really a program. We're giving you a kickoff to a program that you can build upon as you would like to. So if you want to meet more, that'd be amazing. Go for it.
I would comment though that our desire is that you don't meet less.
Yes.
Right. So we have mentors who have made a commitment to spend at least 4 times with you. And so, especially to our mentees, fulfill that commitment, right? Make sure that you are available and that you're making just a full pledge to spend time with your mentor.
Great point, Russ. Any other questions?
I have a question about, again, along the same line, we are going to be dealing with minors. Is there any box time restriction of when we can meet with the mentees? And I'm asking this in terms of if a mentee, I know my mentee, for instance, is working through summer as well. So, well, I'm flexible. So for instance, if she wants to meet 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, and that works for me, is there any, do we have boundaries around that, or is it okay? Or, yeah, I just wanted to throw that out there.
Well, I could just comment that, my sense is that it's a question of what seems reasonable. And my sense is that many of these students start school as early as 7 or 8 in the morning. If you're up that early and they want to be up that early, go for it. If you would like it to be on weekends, That's really your mutual decision. I would say from a standpoint of night, maybe something that's not any later than, say, 9 or 10 o'clock at night, right? So that our students are able to get the sleep that they need. And so my sense is that you will arrive at that schedule. If there's a concern about the time, maybe the student offers something a little later, I think you might want to make sure that a parent is that's an acceptable time if it's later than, say, 9 or 10 o'clock.
Thank you.
You bet.
Any other questions? Okay, well, I think that's a wrap. If you find that you have a question that you didn't have the opportunity to ask now, or you think about it later, please send an email to Denise or Russ or myself, and we will get you an answer to that question. Like we mentioned earlier, we'll be doing a follow-up with this presentation along with the video and the survey to accept the program boundaries, and look for that in the next day or two to come out. So otherwise, just have a good mentoring session and enjoy the summer. Russ, Denise, anything that you'd like to add?
Well, I would just ask that our committee sticks around